is convening at 10:22 a.m. on February 2nd, 2023 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon by telephone conference call. I will now call roll. Holly Scholas? Oops,
Here.
you're on.
Here. Yeah, I know. I had to unmute myself. I'm here.
Colleen Forbes?
Present.
Julia Bailey?
Present.
Greg is absent. Desi Lang?
Here.
Catherine Akerson is not here, and neither is Haley Beeson. So members, when you wish to speak, please state your last name for the record. Committee members are asked to not use the chat feature during the meeting. Public members wishing to speak first sign in on the roster sheet available. For public members calling in on the public phone line, please email April Fleming at april.fleming@dhsoha.state.or.us and provide your first and last name. Public and interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols when conducting board business. This meeting is called to order. Do we have anybody on the phone? Is there anyone on the phone? I do not believe that we have any public members on the phone. Oh, there is a public member on the phone.
This is Desiree McCain.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
My name is Desiree. My last name is Lactaze. And I'm a CPM LDM in Oregon.
Perfect. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to share my screen so we can look at the documents. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
I'll make it bigger.
This is Desiree. Can I ask a quick question? I'm sorry. The technology thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I just tried to send that email and I think there's something wrong with the email address. Is this how I'm going to be able to see the screen?
No, you will not be able to see the screen. It's public members are just on the phone. The reason we ask you to email April is for an official record of the public on the phone. Would you like me to give you that email address again? It's April, spelled A-P-R-I-L, dot Fleming, spelled F-L-E-M-I-N-G, at DHSOHA dot state dot or.us. You're welcome. Okay, let's see if so we call the meeting to order. We're going to do a meeting of the agenda overview. I wanted to update you in regards to TXA. The board directed the HLO to create a committee for TXA. Desi, you are on that committee. The committee, it was was directed to put together an FAQ for the TXA. The HLO prepared a TXA FAQ. In addition, one of the committee members provided information that they wanted to see included on the FAQ. That information and my FAQ had to go to legal counsel, and so we are waiting for legal counsel to get back to us in order to move forward with that committee. Okay. We will be going over the standardized competencies that everybody has worked on at our last meetings. We will be going over the skills examination, which has been comprehensively put together. The committee at the first meeting that we had wanted to change the format and the layout. And so I have been working with a subject matter expert in putting that skills examination together. There will be a couple decisions that this committee needs to make in regards to moving forward with that. And then we will talk about moving forward with the written examination and what our next steps will be. Does anyone have any? Go ahead.
This is Holly Scholas. I have a question. The TXA committee, have they been made aware of the competencies that are coming out of this committee so that we don't have a disconnect between the work of this committee and the work of that committee?
They will be when they meet.
Okay, gotcha.
They haven't even met yet. So we, in preparation with the documentations and what I got from one of the committee members, the information is prescriptive. And so we need legal counsel in regards to determine what we cannot provide moving forward in regards to the information we were provided. So that's where we are. But yes, they will be made aware of where within the competencies and the skills examination, the TXA falls.
So when you said prescriptive, do you mean that the board would be saying this is how much to use of this thing in this circumstance?
Yes.
So
In a sense, go ahead.
In the past, we've had that that you looked up a couple months ago, I don't think it was called a guideline, but it's the internal document that set out for each of the medications that are in the LD formulary or the LM formulary, what the dosage was and the frequency of use.
Yes.
And so is it more than that?
Yes, there was a one-page document and it was in regards to timeframes and administration and dosages, just a lot of information that really was prescriptive. And I felt that it was above what our authority was. And so that's why it was presented to legal counsel to be able to provide us with advice that the HLO will be able to use to move forward with in that committee.
I would love to see a copy of that if that's possible, Cynthia. Because depending on what it is, it may or may not be a problem.
And it could very well not be, but with the information that was presented into the documentation and with the statutory authority and that we have, the information definitely needed to go before our attorney to get advice.
Well, because we are not able to write prescriptions, but we're able to have professional use. Sometimes people don't understand that distinction, and that could be at the heart of the problem here. So, or not a problem, but the situation. So I would just love to see what they sent you. And plus it's relevant because we're putting together this curriculum. So
absolutely. I can send you the documentation that was provided.
Super fun.
Yeah, so I'll put that on my to-do list.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone have any questions in regards to the agenda? No? Okay, we'll just move forward then. I seem to be having technical difficulties today with this computer.
When you share the document when it finally loads, can you enlarge it, please?
Yes.
Because you're getting multiple screens into it here.
There it was coming. I'm going to try that again. There we go. Is that big enough, Holly? Or other committee members?
So far, but that's nice big print.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Very good. So the competencies are what we have worked on during several of our meetings in 2022, and each of you were assigned certain areas to get documentation back. We've massaged this document several times. There was only limited information that was provided at the end. I think there was just one piece that we needed, which was input into this document. I wanted to provide you with this final document just to look at all the work that you had done. And so I don't think necessarily we need to go over this in detail unless you would like me to walk through it for you. How would the committee members like me to proceed?
It
I
seems
don't-
like, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Des.
I was just going to say, it seems like that's probably an unnecessary use of our time today.
Mhm.
I agree.
Agreed.
Okay. You guys all did an excellent job with all of the input that you guys provided. And, you know, like I said, we've massaged it several times and it's very comprehensive in what those standardized competencies are. So I believe we can just move forward with the skills portion of this.
Yep.
And you've
Perfect.
seen the copy of this? Was it attached? Do I remember that it was attached to the announcement?
Yes, everyone got a copy of this. I think it was a little over a week and a half ago that I sent that out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There were like 10 attachments to that document, so.
Well, there's a lot of information. So,
It was one of the
That's-
first ones. I have it open.
Yeah.
okay. So we will go on to the skills examination. And with that, these are all of those attachments. So basically, the skills examination starts out with a summary in regards to the board adopting these standardized this skills examination. You'll find question marks in here because we don't have specific dates yet moving forward. Therefore, just in preparation, putting it together, it talks about the purpose of the examination. It talks about the different sections within the examination, and then each part within those sections. Talks about specified criteria for the examiners that will be qualified, which will be specified in rule in regards to being able to administer this examination. And then it talks about the results being sent to HLO upon completion and passing this examination. And it identifies what the requirements are for the record retentions for the examiners. And then it also talks about terms that we use throughout this examination. For example, medication could be expired or current medication, or it could be as such as a substitute as water. When we talk about skin, we're talking about a soft skin fruit or a mannequin. Client, again, is a fruit or a mannequin, and a wound, a pre-cut foam square. So, and then these are the sections within the examinations. There's no page numbers, of course, because we need to finalize this up, and then I'll add those at the end. But we'll be talking about the IM injections for the multi-dose vial, the SQ injection from a glass ampule using the filter needle, the ID injection from a single dose vial, and injection for administering local anesthetic, intravenous therapy for the treatment of the shock, and the antibiotic prophylaxis, and placing a saline lock, in addition to suturing. Does anyone have any questions on that?
No, I noticed in paragraph 4 where it says failing any part of the examination requires that part to be retaken. We're missing a word. It's the second highlighted paragraph on your screen. It says that part 2, we need to add be retaken.
To be retaken.
Yep. Sorry, had to find it there. Thank you. Any other comments or corrections that need to be made on that?
Can I just see the next page again real quick?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. I just wanted to catch up on that. Yeah, so I guess I'm confused about why it says like why IM injection from multi-dose vial. Like, are we also, I mean, a lot of IM injections are from single-use vials as well.
This is Holly. It's because this is the test. And so if they can, we're going to do the IM from the multi-dose, the
Yeah.
ID from the single dose.
Got it. Okay, I see why we did
Just
that.
the skills exam, not
Yeah.
what we're able to do.
I got it. Yeah, I got it. I'm good then.
Okay. So I will now go to the next document, which is the IM through injection. And so this is section 1, part 1. And what we put together is the layout of performing the IM injection from the multi-dose vial. Scoring is based off a pass-fail. But the immediate failure does not apply to the skills section 1.1, which is gathering supplies, and or the 1.7, which is the needle stick warning. So every other section of this skill must be completed in order to pass the exam, this section of the exam. And so it goes through with identifying the IM injection with the 1 millimeter from the multi-dose vial, using the 1.5 needle and a 3 ml syringe, simulating a maternal pertussis infection for hemorrhage. And then it goes through the supplies. And one thing I want to point out is each one of these sections and parts are consistent in regards to this flow.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go through the performing the universal precautions, and then the cleaning in the injection site. And here's my question. Do you want me to read each one of these lines to you, or have you had an opportunity to look at these and would like to just provide comment to me?
I've looked over them and have a few comments. I don't know. I don't need you to read each one to me, but that's just me. That's Julia. Sorry.
Okay. Colleen, have you had an opportunity to look these over?
Yeah. I've looked through them.
And Desi?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you like to talk about within this section and part? What are your comments?
This is Julia. So under 1.0, it says multi-dove instead of multi-dose vial.
Oh, mine says multi-dose.
Oh,
Mine
interesting.
said Dove.
I see it later on. There it is. Okay, got it.
And then it says simulating a maternal Pitocin. It should say injection, not infection.
Yeah.
And then
Oops. You know, I looked at these documents 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
that's why, because you've looked at it 1,000 times. Under 1.12, I had highlighted if needed. So I think maybe that it's spelled incorrectly. 1.12 in needed should be if needed. And
If
Yeah.
needed, thank you.
And then for 1.14, it said push up lightly on the plunger to form a small bead of medication at the needle tip. I would like to add to expel air and form, because sometimes you'll get like a little bubble of liquid and then there's still air that you need to expel before you have like your bead of medication. So that's, I would prefer to add to expel air or something like that to that section.
To expel air and form a small bead.
Yes.
That's a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was all of my comments on this one.
Okay. Did anyone else have any comments or changes that they would like to make on this document? I'm looking at the big screen so I can see you all, because I cannot see you on my screen. So when I turn sideways, I get to see all your faces up there.
Do we look confused or something?
Well, Holly, the board is
Sleep?
like 15 feet away from me, and it's so I'm like squinting and trying to figure out your facial expressions. Okay, so we're good then moving forward with this document, and so we will go on to the next document.
I assume if before this is adopted, we'll have one more chance to look everything over. And if we find something obviously horrible, then we can always bring it to the meeting and change it.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So yes, you guys will. Well, and now you have these documents. I'll send out the minor modifications that we've done today, and so then you'll have them until actually the board votes on them at this point, or we meet again to talk about the written examination, and we can always bring it up at that point if you guys have found something. So this is section 1, part 2. The SQ injection from a glass ampule using a filter needle. Again, the same layout. And identifying that the immediate failure does not apply to skill 2.1, which is the supplies, or the needle stick warning.
This is Julia. The only comments I had are on 2.16 to add that to expel air and form a small bead of medication, which I think I would suggest adding to all of these ones. But then the other comment I had was about the order of 2.7 and 2.8. It says to clean the neck of the glass ampule with an alcohol prep and then perform the 3-point check. But like, I just imagine people cleaning it and then they're touching it and turning it to like look at all of the information on it. So I would propose that we have them perform the 3-point check on the medication in the vial and then clean it and break it. I don't know what you all think.
I was thinking the same thing. This is Desi.
Well, that's a reasonable change for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
No, not above 2.6.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
2.8 becomes 2.7 and 2.7 becomes 2.8.
Okay, hang on, let me undo then. Hang on. So 2.7 becomes, I'm sorry, what?
2.7 becomes 2.8 and 2.8 becomes 2.7. They're just swapping.
Gotcha, thank you. Okay. Any other changes or suggestions for this document? No? Perfect.
And
Oh.
2.16, sorry, this is Desi. The 2.16, what Julia suggested there. Oh, it's already there. I'm sorry.
She added that already. Yeah.
Okay. And then we will go into section 1, part 3, the ID injection from the single dose vial. Again, same thing with the skills not being part of the failure.
For 3.12, I think in needs to change to if again.
Okay.
And 3.13 adding to expel air and form a small bead.
Oops, right.
And then 3.17 says inject medication steadily, making a small wheel under the skin. And maybe that's just a term I don't know, but I highlighted that because I don't know what that means.
A wheel is exactly that small little kind of like if you've ever had a TB test, that little bump of fluid. It's the medical term for it.
Okay.
It's a good Scrabble word.
I will add that to my bank of Scrabble words.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other suggested changes on this document?
Can you go up to the top again, Cynthia, please? I just want to make sure we've got our 3-point check and our cleaning. Yeah, we're not cleaning the vial, so all right.
The order is still okay?
It's still great.
Okay. All right. So we will go on to the next document. So section 1, part 4, injection for administering local anesthetic. Again, with the sections for not qualifying for failure.
4.1 section E, it says 0 to 0.5 centimeters deep is what we're looking for there.
Okay.
Under method 2, medication needs a second quotation mark after.
Yeah, a close paren, yeah, or close quote. Well, you guys are good close readers, especially you, Julia.
This is what I spent my morning doing while I was waiting for my kid to get out of his appointment.
It's nice and fresh.
Yeah.
I looked it over this morning and did not see any of those things. I just kind of like
Yeah.
Oh, I
filled
was
in
in
the blanks in my brain.
superficial glance, Julia. You're taking my banner of editor. I love it.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
So then we can go on to section 2 for IV therapy. Part 1, IV for treatment of shock.
And I'm having to remind myself that while that this is intended to be the testing format, it also will be used by some people as the information for how to do it. So
Mhm.
It does support the standardized competencies, and in the standardized competencies, we refer to the skills exam for this process.
exactly.
Yes.
So with 1.1A, are we just grabbing a smaller bag of fluid because they're just testing?
Exactly.
Okay.
We could add as appropriate if that, because we're using it as we refer to it for the competencies, if that might address what I suspect you're getting at there.
Yeah, I would not want someone to, think that's what they're supposed to be grabbing if they're just looking at.
Oh, or we could put in parentheses or smaller normal saline or lactated ringers for testing purposes, close parentheses.
Uh-huh.
So put a parentheses before or, Cynthia. Or smaller. No, the other or. The earlier or. Sorry, my bad.
That's okay.
Or smaller normal saline or lactated ringers for testing purposes. Close parentheses. There you go. That was a good catch, actually.
Any other comments on this?
Can you scroll down to 1.16? I have something highlighted, but I'm not, it might just be a second quotation mark. Yeah, after client, we need a second quotation mark. I think that was everything I had in there.
Okay. Anyone else? We okay to move forward? Okay. So we will go to section 2, part 2 for the IV for antibiotic prophylaxis, placing a saline lock.
So under 2.1C, it still says 16 to 18 gauge catheter, which is not what I would use for this purpose. Are like,
Oh yeah, we could say 18 or 20.
yeah, 16 for antibiotics feels pretty mean.
Yeah, that would be a little cruel. And then we should also do the same thing we did with the previous one on A, Cynthia, with the parentheses or smaller.
Okay.
There you go. And then for testing purposes, I believe is the wording we used.
Need a second bracket, a second parentheses after smaller up there.
I'm sorry, what?
The second parentheses after smaller needs to be added.
No. It goes.
Oh, testing, sorry.
Yeah.
Ooh. Quite the glare.
So under 2.5, where we're preparing the IV solution bag, we have completely left out of here reconstituting the antibiotics and adding them to the bag.
Whoops.
So our poor prophylaxis is not going well right now.
No, definitely not.
So where do you want me to add that?
Yeah, so I would probably do it before removing and spiking the IV bag. Like I would reconstitute the antibiotics, add them to the bag, then remove the cover from the bag, spike it, turn it upright, and squeeze the drip chamber. So probably at the very beginning of 2.5 is where I would put it. Or we could make it its own thing. That's like reconstituting the antibiotics and then preparing the IV solution bag. What do you guys think?
I like having it as its own, but I could go with integrating it under 2.5.
I like having it as its own as well.
I agree. Breaking it up into steps, especially if we're thinking about like brand new midwives, that we want to make sure that they're looking at that individually. And I feel like it can be intimidating.
So 2.5 would become reconstituting antibiotics, and then 2.6 would become preparing IV solution bag, or the other way around. Preparing IV solution bag becomes 2.6.
And you called it reconstituting
Antibiotics.
Reconstituting is misspelled, Cynthia.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to use spell check.
Ah.
And actually, this needs to be merged. I apologize. Merge those, and then this needs to be splitless. Come over, and this will be A, and be center. And how would you like this to read?
Okay. Thinking through all the steps.
And is it the same for cefazolin as it is for penicillin? Or do we want that information here?
Well, the dosing isn't the same, but the procedure for reconstituting the powder is. So I don't think we need to address specific antibiotics because we're adding saline to the vial to reconstitute the powder and then drawing it up. So, because they'll be tested on the dosage and frequency and that sort of thing in the written exam.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
So we may have to check up above to make sure our supplies include the
Oh yes, good point. Your antibiotics.
Yeah.
And an extra syringe, an extra needle.
And the normal saline.
Yeah, the flushes, yeah. Because there were a couple listed up there, but we probably need another one. Yeah, it says 1 10 ml saline flush syringe. We probably need.
That's for flushing the lock, though.
Yeah, so we need to add another one on there.
So two on M there, Cynthia, would be two 10 ml saline flush syringes.
And then we need to add like vial of antibiotic powder.
Yeah.
Would that go up above here with the medications? Or I'm sorry,
It might be best to put it there under the bag of IV solution.
Yeah.
As B. Mhm.
Yeah. And then re-alphabetize everything after.
a new B.
Yes, a new B.
Okay. And that will read, I'm sorry.
Antibiotic, vial of antibiotics.
One vial antibiotic powder.
Powder.
VIAL.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a vial antibiotic powder. I love that.
Okay.
And then we need to add a needle, like I usually use like a 20 gauge, like a big fat needle to attach to one of our saline flushes to draw up. And then we also need a 10 mil syringe.
Okay. So let's put that.
You could say 1 10 mil syringe with 20 gauge needle.
Yeah.
Maybe under M. $10 ml syringe
Oh,
with 20 gauge needle.
okay. And wasn't there something else you just said you wanted to add?
No, that's both. They're both there. The 20 gauge.
There,
needle.
those two. Okay, gotcha.
So
So
then
now
we'll
we
go back
back
down to 2.5. The new 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
So we do our 3-point check first.
Hang on, let me copy. So I'm going to, like we have the 3-point checks listed in the others, put that here. So I'll have to,
Yeah, just put perform 3-point check and then you can add it later.
yes, yes. Okay.
Then remove cap from vial and clean with alcohol wipe.
No, and clean with alcohol wipe.
Oh, I don't know where that came from. Oh, I, period.
And
Okay.
then attach 20 gauge needle to normal saline syringe, normal saline flush.
I'm sorry, attach 20 gauge needle to what?
Saline flush.
Mhm.
And then
Draw
inject
Appropriate amount of saline into vial.
uh-huh. And then roll, shake, wiggle, vial.
Mix.
agitate contents of gently agitate contents of vial.
Thank you, Holly. Good job. Contents of vial to dissolve all powder.
AGITATA.
This is all powder.
Yeah.
And then attach 20 gauge needle to 10 ml syringe.
And you use the same needle, right?
Yeah.
I do too.
I'm sorry, attach 20 gauge needle to what?
10
10
ml syringe.
10 mil syringe?
Uh-huh. Draw up, 3 cc's of air.
into syringe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Inject into vial and how's it's worded like and allow to backfill or something. However we worded it when we were drawing up injections from a multi-dose vial, like inject air and allow to fill with solution or something.
Yeah, something like that.
You want me to copy this from the other section?
Yeah, that's
Like-
fine. Whatever we wrote for the IM injection. And then follow it with like pull back to draw up remainder of contents if necessary.
Pull back the what
Plunger.
to,
Withdraw remaining contents if necessary.
Which it almost always is.
Yep. I think that about covers it. Because then under the next one, under prepare IV solution bag is when we would add it to the IV bag. So let's make a new A under that one.
Under the new 2.6.
Uh-huh.
okay,
And this is where we remove well, they don't all have a cover. Some of them just have you just clean the.
Injection port.
Yes, thank you. Remove cover or clean injection port.
On IV bag. Okay, and then we're going to have a new B.
Yep. Inject contents of 10 ml syringe into IV bag.
And I might want to put after contents in parentheses the word antibiotics.
Yes, there you go. So
And-
instead into 10 ml bag, it should just say into IV bag.
oops.
Not there. Yeah.
There we go.
Mhm.
So take out 10 ml and just make it IV bag. There you go. And then a new C, gently agitate IV bag to mix contents.
I'm sorry, agitate what?
Gently agitate IV bag to mix contents. And then we need to have them do another 3-point check.
Here,
No, not here.
No. Let me scroll down so I can see. So they would do it. Let me see where. Let me see where we're looking. So at the beginning of 2.16, before they attach the IV tubing. Is that where you would put it?
That's where I would put it.
Uh-huh.
Just one more time. Just to make sure. Uh-huh.
And then
Wait a minute. Back up. I think we're too late.
we should do it when we draw it up before administration and then afterward when we're charting it, right?
Yeah. But did we
So
do it before?
We put it in there when they were reconstituting it. So
Okay.
now we're putting it in there before they connect the IV to the extension set. And then what we probably need to do is add, after it says like adjust flow rate, like have them do a 3-point check when documenting the lot number and expiration in the chart or something.
Yeah, but I want to go back up and make sure we're putting this in the right place.
Okay, so hang on, let me get up
Slow down,
there.
slow down, slow down. You're going too far up.
Okay, so
We
gather
don't
the
need to get that far.
supplies. Okay.
Keep
Perform
going,
on
Yeah,
a point
put it
check.
right
keep going.
Like-
Prepare other supplies. So stop there for a minute.
Okay,
Keep going down to 2 point. Keep going. Prepare other supplies past that. I just want to be clear what we're doing. Locate and prepare cannulation site. So we're doing that. Locate and prepare, prepare catheter, insert catheter. So we've inserted the catheter and we've attached the lock. I'm just double checking for my brain. We secure the catheter and tubing, but we still haven't opened it. We remove the saline flush, assess site, attach IV tubing. Yeah, so that's where it should go, because up until that point, we have not let the medication get into their body. So we're double checking at that point. And then I think you're right, Julia, or whoever said that. I think it then needs to go at the very, very end for the charting.
Yeah, and now that we are talking about that, we didn't put that in any of our injection ones. They don't have their third 3-point check.
Right.
Oh, well, it does have it, but it doesn't say anything about like charting it, like as they put it in their chart or something. And I don't know if that's something that we want to do. If we want to have them, pretend to be logging the lot and expiration in a pretend chart with their last 3-point check or not, but.
And I also have a question before we move on from this screen right here. The 3-point check, should it right above that, it says assess client for therapeutic response for any signs of allergic reaction. Wouldn't that be done after we've started the antibiotics?
Mm-hmm.
So that should
2.15 needs to move down to like 2.
Yeah.
The new 2.18 or 2.19 after you
Yeah, it
adjust.
should be like the last thing there.
Well, that worked out because now the add 3-point check can be 2.15. How convenient.
Yes, it can.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then should we make? Should we do 2.18, adjust the flow rate, 2.19, repeat the 3-point check, and then assess for allergies?
Oh, yeah, that could be like one step.
I'm sorry, what would you like me to add?
Well, remember, we're in a testing situation, but we're also creating the thing that's the step at a time of what to do. So a lot of this will be just a verbal thing, but I think that's fine for a test.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a parentheses after client first in 2.19. And are we going to so you're saying after adjust flow rate, do the 3-point check, or are we doing that as a 2.20? Or are we doing that as 2.20?
I like it as 2.19 because we're going to adjust the flow rate. We're going to chart.
And then assess.
That's what I think too.
So add the 3-point check here again.
Yeah. And chart. And then add and chart. See, I do it the opposite. I would be looking to see if there's any response right away, any allergic reaction, because that usually happens quickly. And then I would chart all of that and do my 3-point check then. But this is totally fine with me. And the reality is we're probably kind of doing all of these things simultaneously. Like if she starts blowing up like a balloon while you're doing your 3-point check, you're not going to go, I'm doing my 3-point check. Stop blowing up like a balloon.
Julia, you had mentioned something about charting. So there are specific areas where we do talk about charting, but I don't believe we talk about charting at the end. I would have to look at each of the sections to familiarize myself where that charting information is.
Yeah. So what I've always taught is like you do the 3-point check, like when you drop the medication before you put it into the person, and then after when you're charting like the lot number and expiration, so that you've done the 3-point check 3 times and you make sure that information is in their chart. And I don't know, I mean, like, I don't know if that's something that we want to add where like at the end of all of these injections, the first check, we make sure they're noting lot number and expiration date in the chart. But that is what I would expect.
Well, lot number isn't, it's expiration date, dosage, and name of drug. Lot number isn't required in 3-point check, although it's not a bad thing to chart for sure. But
Right.
But I like the idea of adding the 3-point check at the end of the previous skills as well. Repeat 3-point check.
I think it's in there. I think the question is if we want to add, because it says like repeat 3-point check on medication after they've disposed of the chart. Like I'm looking at the IM injection one. If we want to add repeat 3-point check on medication in vial and chart pertinent information or something like that, or if that does not feel important.
So is it okay to
be clear, because it is a test, what we want them to do then? Like what is when it says and chart, are we wanting them to actually write something down? Or I think that's why we hesitated to put the and chart in on the skill, because this is the testing. Obviously you need to chart. Obviously there's a lot of things you're doing that aren't in the testing context.
And we had started with the charting in there at the end, but again, that's where like the point you just brought up, it's a test. Are you going to watch them chart or do they just need to identify that verbally that they need to chart, or how are they going to address that? Ladies, I have to run to the ladies' room real quick. So if you could just give me a minute, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm going to do the same.